Hi everyone, I'm really excited for today's video. I'll be working on some fun home refresh projects, including fixing up the front porch for the fall season. Did a little bit of that and I want to share it with you. I have a really special announcement after I finish these projects, so you might want to stay tuned for that. I think you're going to like it, or I hope so. I've been really excited about it, and some of you might have guessed what it is. I've thrown some hints out every now and then in my videos, but for now, let's get into the projects and more on the big announcement later. So the first home refresh I'll be doing involves our stairway. I've been wanting to do something with it for a while. I'm just not quite sure what I wanted to do. I'm going to start out by cleaning it. I have an idea and I'll explain later what I have in mind. I plan to paint these steps, give them a fresh coat of white paint, everything except like the back part of the steps I have another idea for, but just the tread or the actual step part and these sideboards here, I want to give a fresh coat of paint. As you can see, they're kind of scuffed. Gotta say, this paint has lasted for years though. I'm really impressed with how it's held out. You can see some scrapes and where the paint came off, but not too bad. And I probably can't film it the best, being I'm just using white paint again. You probably can't even see where I'm going with it on camera. But I want to do that, and then for the back part, I plan to add some paintable wallpaper to it. It's that beadboard kind. I thought it would look so pretty with just kind of giving it an old farmhouse look maybe. I have memories of steps like that, you know, growing up in the farmhouses that my cousins had, or grandma and grandpa. They would have a lot of beadboard. Of course, you know, they had the real stuff, but I'll just be installing the wallpaper. I've done it before, but I've never painted it before I put it on, so hopefully that'll work. I knew it would be easier that way, being that I'm painting it a tan color. So I used my large cutter that I had out in the shop to cut posters with. Used that to cut all of my sections, and of course I have to piece it because my roll, you know, isn't wide enough to cover the steps. Hopefully I can hide the splits or the cuts. And even if I end up, maybe I'll have to paint it, you know, once I have it on there, just, you know, on the seam at least, to kind of blend things in. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Hopefully it'll, work out, but we'll see. I thought this color tan is so pretty. It just reminded me of a country farmhouse. The paint I'm using here is by Do It Best. It's a porch and floor enamel. It's more of a heavy-duty acrylic latex paint. I've used it before. This is an old can, but the paint seems to be in good shape. And the color is Camel Coat, it's called. Again, this has been a number of years ago. I'm not even sure whether they still have this color. And the paint I use for the stairway treads and the sideboards is also by Do It Best. It's the bright white color, just off the shelf. The sheen is satin. So bad news, this did not work to paint the wallpaper before applying it. It just seemed, when I wet the back part, you know, it's a pre-pasted wallpaper, things just got really heavy and the edges just wanted to curl up. I couldn't, you know, scrape too hard. It would have taken the paint off, and it would have been a nightmare to try to cover up the seams, you know, where the pieces came together. So to make a long story short, I ended up cutting some more pieces, lots of wallpaper to waste. I don't like that, but at least I learned something out of it, right? But I just applied it without the paint. That worked perfectly, and for now I actually even like to see it unpainted. I had debated to go that route anyway, so I'm going to leave it that way. We are getting a much needed, beautiful rain today. Oh, just loving this. Ohio has been so dry the past months. So the makeover I'm doing here, I'll be calling an architectural element. And I know it sounds like a fancy word maybe, or something you don't just use a lot, but in reality it's quite simple. It's basically just adding things to your home, like to your structure, that make it look like the real thing. In this case, you know, beadboard. Sometimes you can use, you know, shiplap, or maybe a faux mantle, beams. It's basically just, you know, changing some of your architectural form of your home and making it look like maybe it was built this way. And even paint can be an architectural element. You know, if you make something like a countertop look like marble, that can be, you know, changing the whole room and making it look like something else. And it's without, again, spending a lot of money, just, you know, with using paint. I made sure to land my seams in one of the grooves. That really helped to hide it. So the things I'm doing in this video are fairly random. They're not, related to each other, and this will make sense later on, but basically just a little collection of things I love to do. And one of them is soap making, and I've done this before in a video where I've made hot process soap. I don't do this a lot, but now and then I like to. I like it because it's quick and you can use it right away. It doesn't need as long of a curing time. Now it is good to cure it somewhat just to harden it so that it lasts longer in the shower. But as far as being, safe to use right away, it definitely is if you go through the hot process method. So I have this crock pot on warm and I plan to add my oils to it. Now I probably could have turned it on high and melted my hard oils in here, but it's just quicker this way to use my little burner. So the goal is to have these oils around 125 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit, and my lye water solution I want to be around 100 degrees or less before I combine them. I want this to be a thin to medium trace, which would be kind of the consistency of maybe pudding. Even a little thinner is fine for hot process like this. So I want this to turn kind of translucent, and it's not really doing that right now. Some of the edges have shown signs of it. I've had it on low ever since I put the oils together. So I think what I'll do is turn it on high and see what happens. You want your mixture to cool to around 130 degrees before adding your essential oils. It's just to make sure they don't, evaporate or you don't smell them, afterwards. I think if the mixture is too hot, that can happen. But I'm actually going somewhere, like I need to be somewhere, so I'm going to have to rush it a bit. My mixture is currently at around 190, so I guess this will be a true test to see if it actually stays. Gotta say, it smells amazing, so I guess it worked with having that temperature a little higher than normal to mix the oils in. I'll have some of this soap available on the website, and the rest will probably go in the Antique Mall in Walnut Creek. I have a cupboard there in one of their aisles where I sell some things. So if you're local and you want some soap, it'll be there by the end of the week. I will also have my recipe down below in the description box in case you want to try this exact one for yourself. So I want to fix up the porch for the fall season just a bit. I probably won't do too much. I always feel like fall is such a short season, and I always like to add a few pumpkins and, you know, fall type decorations and fix up the porch swing with fall colored pillows and blankets. Again, probably won't be buying anything new, just using what I have. I think I'm going to try to keep some of my ferns over winter again. I've done it before. I know they create a mess, you know, indoors, but I feel like I have the space, or kind of have the space out in the shop, probably the Etsy shop, maybe in front of my desk. So here I'm just, you know, picking the leaves off, shaking out all the bugs, and probably just put it out there. Not that it wouldn't do well for another, you know, couple weeks here on the porch, but I kind of want to make room for other things, or just, you know, clear things out that I have to do later on anyway. I know I've talked about this before, but a tip on ferns: if you buy them in the spring, it's such a good idea to plant them into larger pots. Now, I don't always get it done, but this one I did, and I feel that's why it's so nice and big and just really healthy looking. This is definitely the one I want to try to keep over the winter. I have such a hard time keeping paint on these table and chairs. I just keep recoating it every spring when I bring them out. One of these times I'll just probably either get rid of them or figure out another way to keep paint on them. Maybe take the pressure washer to them and just get rid of all the old paint as best I can, and just, you know, apply a new coat. But for now, I'll just store them in the shop again. For my little greenhouse structure here, I want to add something kind of fall-like to it. Keeping these lantana flowers, I think they're very fitting for the fall season. Such a pretty color. Added a mum and a few pumpkins to the back deck as well. Another one of my favorite things to do is spend time in my garden, although gotta say recently I haven't taken the time to do so, but wanted to show you some of the flowers that are blooming. I think it's so pretty right now. A few of my roses are doing pretty good, but most of them aren't. I'm just, I guess, not really good with roses. I'd love to do more research or just try to figure out, why they're not doing so well, but I know they are finicky plants and maybe it's just not meant to be for me. Now, my fun announcement. I don't know, did you notice me referring to different sections as I worked on these various projects? Well, there's a reason for it. Let me play these video clips. So guys, here it is. I can't believe it. It's actually in print. When I started working on this book, my goal was to fill it with all the things I love to do. And I soon found out I probably have too many things to put in here. In fact, even now it got a little more pages than I had originally anticipated. I had to even cut out some sections. But it does have 416 pages filled with things that I have done over the past number of years, probably the past 3 to 4 years to be precise, and mostly things you have seen on my channel. But if you're like me, you sometimes like to have things in book form, or I'm that way. I still really enjoy just, holding a book and just, being inspired. And my goal with this has been to inspire people. Like I am so impressed with how many people I can reach through YouTube. I just love that we have this community on here. But at the same time, I know there's people that don't have access to YouTube and they would probably enjoy having this in a book form. And at the same time, there's also people like I would be, I enjoy watching videos and, going on Pinterest. But again, there's something with just holding something in your hands and paging through and reading that I really enjoy. So I'll go ahead and read the back cover to you so you can kind of tell what all is involved in this book. It says, cozy and inviting. Create a home and life you love. Beautiful, simple, and inspired by cottage charm. White Cottage Life invites you into a world where cozy charm meets simple creativity. Within these pages, you'll find countless ways to bring warmth and beauty into everyday life, whether through decorating with timeless cottage style, repurposing forgotten treasures, or adding new character with a fresh coat of paint. Step outside for inspiration to refresh your porches and gardens, or try your hand at soap making and other delightful handmade projects. Filled with approachable ideas and creative inspiration, this book is a celebration of simple living and the joy of making your home uniquely your own. I had to move out of the sun, but I wanted to just show you a little more of what all went on at Freeport Press. I can't begin to tell you guys how impressed I was with that place. I was just blown away with all the machinery or the printers that they use there. And when they told me beforehand, I had heard, that this place has a printer that is the size, 4 times the size of our house. I couldn't imagine it. Here I have my little printers at home with my little containers of ink. I mean, this was a whole new level. Like, it was literally probably the size of, 4 times our house, and a couple different levels to the printer, and then huge barrels or tanks of ink. Like, it's just hard to fathom if you aren't actually there seeing it. And hopefully I captured enough of it on video that you guys can kind of see in case you're interested. I know it's probably not everybody's interest to see all these details, but for me, I was just fascinated. And not only do they have the state-of-the-art equipment, they also have amazing customer service. Like, I felt like I made new friends there. I was so happy that they allowed me to go in and do some filming. So thank you, Freeport Press, for that. I felt really welcome there. Often I'm a little awkward when it comes to filming in public places, and felt kind of bad with the workers, working there, because I imagined if that was me, I probably wouldn't be just, highly impressed with having someone, turn a camera on me. So I tried to not get, even too many people on there. Just wanted you guys to see kind of the process of, how they go about to print books. And it's probably kind of hard to tell in the video, but this paper flew through that printer at 30 miles an hour, and they had their CMYK formula like a lot of printers or small printers would have. But again, this was just in a large scale. And again, instead of little canisters, they literally had little rooms where each color, went through. Yeah, really interesting. And once everything was printed, it went through a folding system where the book was divided into sections, and everything, was folded accordingly, so that once it's, in book form, the pages will be in the right order. Kind of hard to explain, just me explaining here, but seeing it actually happen, it kind of made more sense. And one of my favorite parts, of course, was watching it being bound. That was kind of the finishing touch, putting everything together. It is a perfect bound book. It has the best glue that you can get. It has a beautiful soft cover. I really debated, do I want to go hardcover or soft? And I honestly, guys, just love the feel of a soft cover book. I feel like it opens nicer. I'm so happy I went this route. There's definitely a lot that can be done with a soft cover, including, a beautiful laminate, and then your title and your words. You can do foil and like a spot gloss. I did all of that on the cover just to make it extra beautiful, and I like when things kind of pop. And you may have noticed earlier I had a guy here taking the cover picture. There's a little story behind that. I had pretty much all of my book pages, like the inside, finished, and I still didn't have a cover, because you guys know me, I'm probably too picky. It has to be perfect. The cover just says so much about a book, and I just needed it to have that perfect cover. And here, when I was redoing my little shed here, kind of turning it into more of a greenhouse shed, I was literally standing where the camera is right now and taking the pictures of the cupboard here behind me. And that's when it hit me. This is what's going to be on my cover. I just love the lighting in here and the colors. I didn't want the orange pots, like all the clay pots. I switched those out with white, as you could see. But I'm so happy with how it turned out. And Marvin, the guy that took the cover picture, amazing job. I could not be happier. And he also edited all of my pictures. I knew I wouldn't have the time to do it or the expertise like he does. And I just could not be happier with how they turned out. This book has 11 different sections or chapters in it. And the first one is that simple architectural elements that I talked about when I redid my stairway. And then there's a living room, a kitchen and dining area, and a bedroom section. Mostly just decorating ideas for those spaces. And then I have a handmade furniture, a trash to treasure makeovers, scrap wood projects, textile elements, which would be, anything fabric related, of course. And then, of course, I have some outdoor spaces, gardening, and apothecary goods. The apothecary goods section, I really debated whether I want to put it in or not, because I thought I could probably do a whole separate book on that someday, and I still might do that. But I wanted to share my soap making. I love to make soap, and the goal, again, for this book was to just fill it with things that I love to do, and I know many of you enjoy the same things. Still moving around here, trying to stay out of the sun, but yeah, just a book filled with, again, things that hopefully are inspiring to people, just to encourage people to make use of the space they have, turn it into something beautiful. You don't always have to just go out and buy things. You can often take what you have and just make some changes and turn things beautiful into something you actually like for your home. So this book is available on my website and my Etsy shop, so if you prefer, to shop one or the other, both places will have it. And for a limited time, possibly just this week, whatever orders I get, I will personally sign the book for you And from here on out, if you want a signed book, you can always request it, and I'll do my best to, you know, get that done. But I'll just make an effort. Whatever orders I get this week, I'll make sure to sign them for you. Not to sound all advertising here, but hopefully you were able to tell in the video that this is a really high quality book, and I'm giving credit to Freeport Press for doing that. They use the top-notch, actually the best paper that is out there. They use for the inside pages, and then also the cover as well. Again, just having those extras on there turns it into a high-end book. Just could not be happier with it. And the only place you can get this book locally so far is Faithview Books. And the other place is the Walnut Creek Antique Mall. I have a cupboard there where I have some soap and candles, and then I plan to have these books on there as well. So a few things to mention before ending here. I have these cozy sweater candles, only a limited amount. Amy had been waiting on the oil, or I would have had them sooner. No fault of hers, of course, but I'm happy to say I have them now. They're poured into these beautiful amber jars with the wooden lids, and the scent is amazing. Who knows, maybe I'll end up pouring some more. I'll see what happens here, how much in demand they are, but if there's a smell for cozy sweater, it is this. Like, that's exactly what it smells like, just a cozy sweater day maybe. I got John to smell them too. He always likes to smell candles. I think he said it smells like fresh fall or something like that, but it definitely does smell really good and clean and fresh. So I have those available, and I also have some teacups that I am pouring some cozy sweater candles into. I don't have pictures of them to show you guys, but check out on my website the recycled teacup candle section. And I also have some soap, I think, that is going to be cured by the time this video goes out, so make sure to check that out. Soap often doesn't last long. So enough on that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and were maybe inspired to fix up your porch for the fall season, or maybe redo a little project in your home. It's just amazing what that does. Even now, just walking past that stairway, it wasn't anything major. It doesn't even stand out that much, but I just still like to see it. Like, if I even go up the steps, I'm like, oh, this looks so much better, and just, yeah, giving it a fresh new look almost. So as always, I hope your day is going great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.